Master your breath and you master your mind. Welcome to Health, Harmony, and Happiness with Kathy. I'm your host, Kathy Stricker. I'm a state patrol wife, mama to 3 lively kiddos, a yoga teacher, certified NLP coach, and an energetic rhythms expert. As an energetic rhythms coach, I help action-taking women use their body's rhythms and the moon's cycle to optimize productivity and avoid burnout without letting their desire to remain in control alter their focus. And this podcast is all about doing just that and perhaps a bit more so that you can create your own path to health, harmony, and happiness. So come along with me and may this episode serve as a nudge to discover tools that could help you on your path towards more intentional living. Enjoy the show. Hey friends, welcome back to the show. This is episode 59 of the Health, Harmony, and Happiness with Kathy podcast. It's great to have you here with me. Today we are talking all about breath and breathing, this very crucial thing that we do every single day. And it's beautiful, and it's also something that we don't have control over, and we have to fully trust that it's going to happen and that our body's going to do it. And we don't even have to think about doing it. Your body just does it. It's a beautiful thing. And it's also a really powerful tool. And we often forget about, or maybe we don't even know, we're ignorant to the fact that breath can do so much more for you than you maybe even consider. Once you become consciously aware of how powerful your breath can be and how you can use it to benefit you or even to hinder you, there's really nothing you can't do. It just takes practice. And that sounds kind of funny, right? To say that it takes practice to breathe. It takes practice to control your breath. And there's a difference. So let's talk about it today. Now, I believe that how you breathe is who you will be as a person. That's a pretty powerful statement. But if your breath is quick and hurried, then so shall you be. Yet, if your breath is calm and relaxed and steady, so you are. Master your breath and you master your mind. Your breath needs to be quick and hurried sometimes, right? When you are running, when you are exercising, when you are doing something that intentionally you need more energy, you need more vigor for. But that's not the majority of your day all the time. And honestly, I think a lot of people actually live in the state where their breath is shallow, short, and hurried, yet unaware of that, unaware that that's actually how they're breathing. We don't take these full, deep breaths and use our full lung capacity. So it takes practice to control that breath, to learn how to breathe in a way that can really honestly benefit you more than the quick, shallow breaths that you often tend to gravitate towards. Your breath is this powerful tool within you. It's your life force. It's the breath that you received from God when you came into this world. And nothing can stop it but death. So listen to this quote from Osho. It's actually from the book Yoga, The Science of the Soul. We are breathing continuously from the moment of birth to the moment of death. Everything changes between these 2 points. Everything changes. Nothing remains the same. Only breathing is a constant thing between birth and death. The child will become youth. The youth will become old. He will be diseased. His body will become ugly, ill. Everything will change. He will be happy, unhappy, in suffering. Everything will go on changing. But whatsoever happens between these 2 points, one must breathe. Whether happy or unhappy, young or old, successful or unsuccessful, whatsoever you are, it is irrelevant. One thing is certain. Between these 2 points of birth and death, you must breathe. Breathing will be a continuous flow. No gap is possible. If even for a single moment you forget to breathe, you will be no more. That is why you are not required to breathe, because then it would be more difficult. You are fast asleep and breathing goes on. You are unconscious and breathing goes on. You are in a deep coma and breathing goes on. You're not required. Breathing is something which goes on in spite of you. Again, that's a quote from Osho in the book Yoga, The Science of the Soul. So let's talk a little bit about science and the science of breathing. Breathing is one of the purposes of breath, I guess, is purifying, right? It carries oxygen to the cells within your body, and it also removes toxicities present in your blood and in your body. It is the way that we cleanse our system, if you will. Our blood also does that, but it takes the work of our breath to aid in that and to make that possible, to get fresh oxygen and to release carbon dioxide, release all the other toxicities that might be in our system out through our respiration. The other thing that breath plays a powerful role in is nervous system regulation. And this is more or less the main area that we're going to talk about today. Your breath changes the way you experience the world. And I alluded to that earlier. Wait, I flat out told you earlier how you breathe is who you will be, right? I guess I didn't allude to it. I just told you. But it changes the way you experience the world. And this has everything to do with your nervous system and with nervous system regulation. So we have two elements of our nervous system. We have the sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. Your sympathetic nervous system, just a little bit of a science lesson here, friends. Your sympathetic nervous system, if you need the refresher, is in charge of your fight, flight, or freeze response. It's that system that gets the adrenaline pumping, the one that allows you to fight for your life, to run if there's some wild animal chasing you, or to freeze and to just not take any action at all. Now, I use the wild animal thing because that's how our primitive brains developed, right? We learned those, we developed those instincts. Our nervous system developed those or started doing those because in the wild, that's what happens. But when we are in our everyday life now, we still experience those responses. It may not be to the extreme of you're actually running for your life, although in some cases maybe it is. But it's in those other instances where we get threatened by someone's comments, where we ourselves get threatened by the memories or the maybe little traumas, the little T's that we experience throughout our lives, or maybe even the big T's, big T trauma. And how we interact with other people activates or disengages that sympathetic nervous system, that fight, flight, or freeze. Many times, there's so many people who are out there just constantly in this fight, flight, or freeze mode, constantly on high alert. This might be you. I've been there. I've been there in my life. I still have times when I go into this. If you listen to last week's episode, that's kind of one of those days where, your nervous system feels like it's under attack. That's when we need the help of the parasympathetic nervous system to swoop in and calm. And the parasympathetic nervous system is completely responsible for rest and digest. It's responsible for calming you down, for making you feel safe and comforted, and for just being the one that settles your body back to its regular state of being, back to homeostasis, back to that point of balance, right? Where you're able to respond quickly if you need to, but you also can remain with a sense of calm in your body. And quite honestly, now as I'm telling you this, it's essentially what I do with clients when I teach them yoga. It's essentially the goal of the style of yoga that I practice and that I teach is to create that energized calm where you feel alive, you feel ready to go, yet you're also calm. You're also in this state of present moment awareness where you feel comforted and feel safe and feel okay. And the reason I'm telling you this about your sympathetic and your parasympathetic nervous system is because your breath has the power to activate your sympathetic nervous system or activate your parasympathetic nervous system, depending on what outcome you are hoping for. And there may be times when you want to have one of those, you may want to have each of those activated different times. So an elongated in-breath or breathing longer on the in than on the out, on the inhale than on the exhale, is going to activate your sympathetic nervous system. But an elongated out-breath is going to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, and it's going to suppress the sympathetic nervous system. So that's the calming breath. That's the breath that if you feel like you are having one of those anxious days, one of those scattered days, you can't stay focused, kind of like what we talked about last week in the podcast, then practicing an out breath or an elongated out breath when you breathe is going to be really beneficial to you. It's one of the ways that can communicate with your nervous system that you need your parasympathetic nervous system to come into the party and to start calming things down so that you can rest. It's like it's your parasympathetic nervous system's way of giving your sympathetic nervous system permission to be still, to calm down, to don't worry, there's no wild animal running after us. We don't need to run. We don't need to fight back. We can stay calm and respond from a place of reason. Okay, so that's elongated in-breath and an elongated out-breath. But what if your breath is equal on the in and the out? And that is something that is also a beautiful breath practice. In fact, it's how I practice yoga. It's how I teach yoga, to have the equal in and out breath. Because what that does is it creates this balanced feeling. Like I said before, it creates more of the energized calm depending on the pace of your breath. We're going to talk about that in a second, but it also depends on the pace of your breath. So an equal in and out breath can also, depending on the pace, create either an energized feeling or a lethargic feeling. If your in and out is equal, but it's too slow, it will also slow you down, and it might make you sluggish. It might make you lethargic, might make you actually not motivated to do anything. If that equal in and out is really quick and fast, well, maybe that's because you are working out. Maybe it's because you're getting ready to work out and you need the energy. So you do a breath practice to energize yourself and get you to that place where you know you're going to be optimally, you're going to feel your best rather. So depending on the type of breath that you use, you might be able to create that kind of buzzy feeling, or you can create that calm feeling. So in yoga, it's primarily breathing in and out only through your nostrils. That's the idea. That's how I teach yoga. And when you do that, you're creating heat within your body. You're keeping the heat in so that you can warm your body from the inside out. And that's what we're doing on the yoga mat anyways, is allowing our minds to connect with the inside and bringing the inside out. So it's important that you keep that breath in, and the breath can even create this kind of buzzy feeling. And I like to I like to tell people that that's why there's so many happy yogis, right? Like that's why if you practice yoga, you're likely going to be happier. You're likely going to have this more uplifting feeling because you've created that with your breath. You've flooded your brain with CO2 and like created this natural high from your breath. And it's beautiful and it's amazing. And if you haven't experienced it, well, you need to get with someone who can teach you how to use your breath because it absolutely can have that impact on you. Now, it doesn't so much have that impact on you if you're breathing with your mouth, because when you're breathing out with your mouth or even in and out with your mouth, it can have a cooling effect on your body, or it can be a way of even communicating that you need to take in more oxygen. It's easier to take in more oxygen through your mouth than it is through your nose. It can be a way of communicating that perhaps your sympathetic nervous system needs to take over or needs to activate and needs to move into that fight, flight, or freeze place. But when you are breathing through your nose, it allows you to move into the rest and digest mode. It allows the parasympathetic nervous system to activate. However, I have seen breath practices done that, and I have practiced various breath practices that are quick inhales and exhales in and out through the mouth, and then breath retention or holding breath. And that also has the capability of deeply relaxing your nervous system. It's like it takes it into this fight or flight mode and then it completely relaxes. I don't exactly know the science behind it. I just know that I've practiced it and it works. So, for what it's worth, altering whether or not you're breathing in and out through your nose only, or in and out, in through your nose, out through your mouth, or in and out through your mouth, can have a profound effect on how you feel and how you perceive the world around you. So to just bring that little bit of information all together, I will say that in yoga, you primarily practice nostril breathing or in and out through your nose because it's creating heat inside your body. It's creating this internal furnace to warm your organs, to warm your muscles from the inside out so that you can better be in touch with what your physical body is doing. There are absolutely places in breath practice and in breath control practice where you're using both nostril and mouth breathing, or just mouth breathing and breath retention. So keep that in mind. So we've talked a little bit about the science of your breath, and now I want to help you understand where breath is coming from in terms of yoga and the importance of breath with yoga. So you're going to get a little bit of a yoga lesson here. You had a science lesson. Now you're going to get a little bit of a yoga lesson. There's this thing in yoga that's called the Maya Kosha Model. And yoga says that this is the 7 layers or the 7 bodies of being. They are energetic layers within us. They are these illusory shells that we have in our energetic presence and awareness. It's not the chakras, it's different. This is the Maya Kosha model. So yoga teaches that the way to end suffering is to move inward through each energetic layer or sheath and to balance each layer within itself and amongst itself. This is going to make more sense in just a moment. So stay with me. At the center of these layers, so if you can picture or imagine kind of a bullseye, and imagine at the center of these layers is the expression of your true self, your true light. So if you imagine this kind of bullseye around you, where at the very center of each of those layers is your true light, your true self, that pure form of who you are. That's what at the center of the Maya Kosha model. But let's start with what's on the outside first. And what the Maya Kosha model says is that the first layer, this is the outermost layer, is the physical body. This is something that you're quite familiar with, right? Like this is the physical body that you use every day, that you're in touch with. You know how to move, you know how to activate your muscles. That's the first layer. The second layer that we encounter is the life energy that makes things function in your body, and it holds things together. This is where you encounter breath, digestion, blood and circulation, and these are the vital forces that keep you moving together. Some of the things that impact this second layer. So we know that exercise, fitness, working out, that impacts the physical layer. That impacts the physical body or the physical sheath in this model. The things that impact the second layer, like your energy, your breath, digestion, would be more of the holistic work, homeopathic practices, energy work, Reiki, acupuncture. Those are the things that affect you at this second level. Pranayama, which is breath control, breath practice. Those are the things that impact you at the second level, which is an energetic level, basically. It doesn't ever stop. It can't stop. With your physical body, you know when you're done lifting a weight, you can stop. If you don't want to move your arm, you can stop it. But your breath, your digestion, your blood circulating through your body, that doesn't ever stop. It keeps going. Those are the vital life forces. So that's layer number 2. And those first 2 layers then impact the subsequent layers as you move in and deeper. I'm going to go through the next few layers a little bit quicker. The third layer has to do with your thoughts, your awareness, your emotions, your senses, and it temporarily shuts down every day to recharge and reset. That's your mental sheath. That's saying that basically your physical and your vital life forces ultimately impact your mental awareness, your thoughts, your emotions, and so forth. The fourth energetic body is the power of your mind. This is your ability to discern right from wrong, your ability for judgment, wisdom, integrity, your conscience, your will. It's your inner guidance, right? So you can see how the first 3 layers impact all of that. What you do with your body, how your body is functioning, how you're caring for your body so it's functioning at its best, ultimately is going to impact how you feel in this world, the perceptions that you have, your senses, and then also how you use your judgment, how in tune you are with your inner guidance. The 5th layer is extremely subtle, and it is experienced as bliss. This is something that is fleeting for anyone who has ever experienced it. It's once thought that only saints and sages and mystics actually experience this. It's also been thought that people who are on their deathbed or have had near-death experiences have maybe experienced this. This is the super thin layer between your regular awareness and your higher self. It's like where the physical matter of your body and your spirit actually mesh. So you can see how it might be hard to actually access that. But it happens when you've done the work on yourself and you know yourself so well that you can still your mind, that you can really experience present moment awareness in a sense that nothing else matters in this world. It is bliss. It is those moments of pure blissfulness. And I don't even know if it can easily be described because it is such a thing that might be so rare. I think there's been moments where I've experienced it at the end of a yoga practice where I've just felt like, wow, like everything is coming together, or when I've been in an energy healing session, that may be another time. So I mentioned that there were 7 bodies of this Maya Kosha model and of these illusory sheaths that are around you. The 6th and 7th are a little bit beyond movement in the body, but they definitely are affected by the other shells. So it's not necessarily, and when I say they're beyond movement, it means that there's not really things you can do with your physical body that are going to impact these, because these last 2 layers are involving karmic essence, so your karma, and pure consciousness, which is like way, way out there. That is, I don't know. It's way out there. So I don't even know that I can explain it, but I just know that those are the last 2 layers that are involved with the Maya Kosha model. So I really just wanted you to be aware of these 7 layers and how beginning to work with your physical body, for instance, with yoga, and then with the second layer, those vital life forces, like with breath work, you can begin to ultimately alter your mental and emotional state, your integrity, your wisdom, discernment, and then ultimately the energetic presence of who you are in this world. So it's kind of a beautiful thing. The first layer happens with your physical body. The next is with the vital life force or your breath, digestion, circulation, those things that we don't have to think about or intellectualize, but that they just happen. However, if you want to balance or develop the next level of your highest self, which is your mental body or your nervous system, or the ability to flow through life, you first have to gain a greater awareness of the level that precedes it, which is your breath and what we're focused on today. Your breath can, as I said, alter your state. Whatever mood or state you are in, your breath is going to match it, which means that you can indeed learn to control your breath so that you can control your emotional state, so that you can feel as though you are living more in flow with your time, energy, and focus, which would be pretty fantastic, right? So what I'm telling you is all that I'm teaching you, all that I know about energetic rhythms, breath is super important. And being able to be aware of your breath and maybe even control your breath when necessary can drastically change your flow through life. It can keep you stuck, or it can help you flow more through life and feel at ease. So how do you do that, right? Well, you control where you breathe. So like I said, either through your nose or your mouth, into your chest or into your deep lungs. You can add sound quality. You can delay or hold your breath. You can change the timing of your inhales and exhales. You can change the pace of it. I know with yoga, I practice with a metronome so that my breath is evenly paced, and I know that it's evenly paced. You can change the temperature so that it's cooling or heating. Like I mentioned before, breath through your mouth might be intended for cooling. And they teach pregnant ladies this as well. One of the yogic breaths that I've learned over the years is also a breath that, well, they talked about when I was pregnant with kids. You can alternate sides of breathing or even breathe from just one side of your nose. There are so many ways to breathe and so many ways to alter your breath and control your breath so that you create a different emotional state. It's an art and it requires practice. The one thing I can tell you is that no one can actually teach you how to breathe. It's something that you have to figure out on your own. You can be taught numerous breath practices, but you have to figure out what and how it works for your body. No one else can do that for you. It has to be discovered instead of taught. Okay, because I want to leave you with some takeaways that just help you become more aware of your breath and maybe even altering your breath or beginning some basic pranayama practices, I'm going to leave you with a couple to work on. So there are many different types of breath. There's ujjayi breath, which is also called ocean or victorious breath. There's the box breath, alternate nostril breathing, breath of fire. There are so many practices out there. And first, we're going to start with a real basic one that you might think sounds silly in the beginning because it seems like it's probably something you've done your whole life. But actually, the more and more I've taught over the years, the more people I encounter who this is one of the most challenging things for them to do is basic nostril breathing. So inhale and exhale through your nose. I know we talked about it a bit earlier. And it may take practice, but the goal is to find a smooth inhale and exhale through your nose. Not in through your nose, out through your mouth, not in through your mouth, out through your nose, whatever it may be. Inhale and exhale smoothly through your nose, and that it's smooth and controlled. So this is really, really basic. If you're listening to this and you're in the car or you're walking or wherever you may be, just begin to become aware of this basic nostril breathing and see if you can maybe get comfortable in a smooth, controlled inhale and exhale through your nose. Once you've mastered that, and once that's become pretty effortless for you, then move on to practicing a deep, full breath into the lungs rather than your belly. Now, what this looks like is that as you inhale, your lungs expand outward, right? Not your chest. Your shoulders don't move up. It's your lungs. So go deeper, go lower into your rib cage and allow your rib cage to expand outward. Not your belly, not your navel. It's your rib cage that expands outward. It's your diaphragm drawing in all of that air. And then as you exhale, your navel pulls inward. You're forcing everything out. Now, this deep abdominal breath or deep full breath is into the lungs rather than your belly. Practice this with the nostril breathing so that your nostril breath then fills your entire lungs instead of just your chest. Because you might observe when you first just begin to become aware of your breath that your breath actually only stays in the upper third of your lungs. It doesn't actually fill your whole lungs. So practicing this deep full breath begins to train your body to take an even deeper, fuller breath and move all the way into the lungs or most of the lungs instead of just your chest or your upper chest. And this is where you can start to incorporate that elongated out breath. So maybe you're breathing fully in through your nose and then taking a longer out breath in order to calm your nervous system. So that's the next layer. The third and maybe the most challenging breath that I want to kind of teach you today or talk to you about today is the 4-7-8 breath. Now, this breath has been practiced and shown to suppress the fight or flight response. It can be used as a daily preventative practice in through the nose and out through the mouth. I've often done it actually out through the nose, and I kind of like that feeling better, but I'm going to teach it to you how it was designed by the creator. It can be used as a daily preventative practice. That's honestly probably the best way to use it, or it can be used in an immediate or acute system in order to calm your nervous system quickly. So it's the 4-7-8 breath, and all you'll do is inhale through your nose with your tongue behind the top of your teeth or behind your teeth. Inhale, count for the count of 4, actually. Hold your breath for 7, and then exhale out through your mouth for the count of 8. So that longer out breath is beginning to communicate with your nervous system to calm down. And begin with doing this practice for 4 times on up to 8 times eventually. It has the ability to slow your heart rate and lower blood pressure. So it's 4-7-8 breath. Inhale for the count of 4, hold for the count of 7, and exhale out for the count of 8. It can either be done all through your nose or in through the nose and out through your mouth. It's a pretty powerful breath practice. And when you first start working with it, it's likely that it's going to be harder to exhale for the count of 8. And you're going to really struggle to push out or keep breathing out for 8 counts. But then you'll take this really deep inhale on the 4th or for 4 counts. And it just allows your body to feel cleansed, and hold and then exhale out again for 8. Pranayama incorporates some sort of breath ratio, and whether that's an even inhale and exhale or an inhale with a breath retention and an exhale with breath retention also, those are the elements that begin to alter your state. And when you can begin to control that breath, then you have the ability to completely control how you feel. You can control how your mind perceives situations and how you respond to situations. So that's why I say, master your breath and you master your mind, right? It's not always that easy. It takes practice, and breath work is tricky. It can be very tricky. It can be very tricky for a lot of people. So be patient with yourself. Be patient with it. These are things that I regularly work with my clients, whether they are yoga students or coaching clients. We generally do some communication about breath and some practicing of breathing, because it is so powerful. So let's wrap this up. We've gone pretty long today, and I hope that you've gotten some good nuggets of information, but let's just do our health, harmony, and happiness takeaways. So for health, here's the thing. Observe your breath. Just watch it for a few days and begin to notice what happens to it when you find yourself in different situations. Notice the rhythm of your breath as your states change, or as your emotions change, as your feelings change. Possibly even take note of it in a journal. Become aware of it. Awareness is the first step. You may start to notice that when you begin to feel anxious or worried about something, your breath begins to change. Then start integrating one of the breath practices I talked about today. Start using those in order to create more harmony with your breath and to come into that place of balance with your breath. And by being aware of and beginning to intentionally practice some basic breathing exercises, you can improve sleep, reduce anxiety and depression, lower stress, enhance focus, and even calm your nervous system when you're being triggered, ultimately leading to more contentment or happiness in life. So as I said at the beginning, breath is so crucial, so important to how we feel, to creating our emotional states. How you breathe is who you will be. Keep that in mind. That's all I've got for you today, friends. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did and you feel as though you want to share it, you might even just take a screenshot of it on your device and share it to your social media stories and tag me in it. Or you might just send it in an email or a text message to someone who might benefit from it. I would love to have your support in that capacity. And, I haven't mentioned this in a while, but if you haven't left a rating or review yet in Apple Podcasts, head on over there and leave a rating or review. That's how this show gets seen by more people. And I would be so grateful to you if you did. You've been listening to the Health, Harmony, and Happiness with Kathy podcast. I'm your host, Kathy Stricker. Cheers to cultivating your own version of health, harmony, and happiness in your life.